Good morning everyone, Rich Wong here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to have a look at the latest microphone system from Synco. This is the Synco G3, the third generation G series microphone system from Synco. This G3 comes with some pretty big changes, including some new features that I haven't seen on any other similar microphone before. So in this video, we are going to have a look at all these new changes and features. But I thought I should just start this video by coming outdoor and do a bit of recording using the G3 so that you can hear the audio quality, what it's like. And I've also attached the wind muff onto the transmitter so you can hear whether the wind would be a big problem or not when you are recording using this G3. Okay, now we are back in my home studio, and before we continue, I want to remind you guys that I'm a Synco ambassador. So I'm not going to call this video a review, but if you are a long-time viewer of this channel, you know that I will still talk about the things that I like and I don't like, even though I'm an ambassador for Synco. And just like the previous part that I was recording outdoor, audio you're hearing right now is also recorded using the Synco G3. While the Synco G1 and the G2, they both share a very similar design and form factor, Synco this time they have completely redesigned the G3, and not only the G3 looks very different to the G1 and G2, it also allows Synco to implement some new changes that were not really possible with the G1 and G2 wireless microphone. The first thing you will notice is the size of the receiver for this G3 is now much bigger, and the size of the transmitter is much smaller. Now, because of that, Synco managed to fit a much larger display on the receiver. It is a 1.8-inch display, which is huge for a compact wireless microphone. You can see all the status, the input level, signal strength of the transmitters, output settings for the receiver, pretty much everything is displayed on the screen at the same time. And because the screen is so large and Synco has color-coded all the different controls, monitoring all the important settings is very easy. So for a small production team, the videographer can just keep an eye on the status of the audio setup during recording very easily. Now, while I really like this big display, one thing that I was a little bit disappointed is that it is not a touch screen. Instead of being able to directly just touch on the screen and adjust the settings, you have to use the 4 buttons at the bottom of the receiver to control the settings. To be fair, the control is still pretty straightforward and easy. I don't think anyone would really have any problem with controlling the receiver using this 4 buttons setup. The other advantage with the big receiver is that the receiver now has a huge 1800 mAh built-in rechargeable battery. This is 4.5 times the size of the battery on the G2's receiver, and that gives you a very long 13-hour battery runtime. And unlike a lot of other microphones in the market that need a separate charging case or the docking station, the Synco G3 doesn't need it because the receiver itself is the charging case and the docking station for the transmitters. Because the transmitter is so small, so the transmitter's battery life is only 5 hours. So if you just look at the numbers, it is a bit lower than G2 transmitter's battery life. But in real life, I find the battery life is less of an issue compared to the G2. It is because as soon as I finish recording, I will just attach it back to the receiver, and the receiver will charge the transmitter immediately. So in real life, I can get much longer than 5 hours battery life when shooting at location. To attach or remove the transmitter is also super easy. It's pretty much just like the controller on the Nintendo Switch game console. The transmitter would also turn on and pair with the receiver automatically when you detach it from the receiver. The transmitter feels a little bit plasticky because it is made of plastic, but the plastic construction makes the weight of the transmitter very lightweight. It is only 15 grams, so extremely lightweight. Compared to G2's transmitter, G3's transmitter has a much simpler design. There's an omnidirectional microphone and then an earphone output port and a clip at the back, and then there's a power button, a record button, and a switch for you to adjust the monitor output volume. That's it. Very simple. But if you compare it to the G2, one feature that is missing is that there's no microphone input port on the transmitter. Now, at first, I thought, oh, why Synco removed such an important feature? But then I start to think how I use my G2 and how often do I actually use an external microphone. And I think apart from when I was initially testing the G2, I have then never actually attached any external mic to G2's receiver because I just never really feel like I want to do that. So maybe not including the microphone input is not really an issue. Well, it is for a user like me. But I would be curious to know, what do you guys think? Do you use an external mic with your wireless microphone setup? Let me know if you think not having an external microphone input is really an issue or not. The two transmitters has the exactly identical design. There's no A, B or 1, 2 markings on the transmitters. So how do you tell which is which transmitter? Well, there is a little color LED next to the power button on the transmitter. So transmitter A is blue and transmitter B is green. That matches the display color on the receiver screen. Now, while I think it is quite a nice design, I would still prefer to see a letter A or B printed on the transmitter, maybe on the inside. I always forgot which is which, especially when I don't have the receiver right next to me to check the colors. So what I did is I just print a little sticker and stick it on the back of the transmitter to help me remind myself which is the transmitter A and which is the transmitter B. And I just mentioned each transmitter has a built-in microphone. Actually, the receiver also has a built-in microphone. So the Synco G3 has 3 microphones in total. And you can configure what you want to output in each of the receiver's output channel. You can choose whether you want to record audio that was captured by the microphone on the transmitter A or transmitter B, or both the transmitter A and B, or maybe the microphone from the receiver. You can customize the output to whatever that is most suitable for you. For example, when you are shooting interviews, so you have 2 persons each wearing a transmitter with the microphone on it, so you can have the audio from the transmitter A output to the left channel and then the transmitter B output to the right channel. Then you can adjust the voice from each person separately. Or maybe when you are shooting at a location, you can record the main persons talking to the left channel and then record the ambient sound from the receiver's microphone to the right channel, so that you can add in ambient sound during editing as you like. These are just 2 examples, but you just have lots of flexibility with this configurable 3 microphone setup. But not only that, there are 3 output ports on the receiver: USB, an analog output port, and a headphone output port. And all these ports can output audio at the same time. So for example, you could connect the USB port to your computer and record the audio from your computer, and also record the audio on your camera using the analog output port. And then you can also connect a headphone to the headphone port so that you can monitor the audio in real time. You can also adjust the output volume of each output individually. For the analog output port, you can configure it either as a TRS connection, which is usually what camera microphone input takes, or make it a TRRS connection, which is for smartphones analog audio input. And for the USB connection, you can configure it as a USB microphone for computers or a USB microphone for smartphone. So yes, this Synco G3 is just extremely flexible in terms of what device you want to output to and how do you route the output audio. I honestly can't remember if there is another similar wireless microphone that gives you so much flexibility. there is a wind muff that comes with each of the transmitter to help you reduce the wind noise. But instead of the typical tiny one that clip onto the microphone area, which is usually quite easy to lose, this time with the G3, the wind muff is much bigger. It has a big flexible rubber mount, so you can attach the wind muff very securely to the transmitter. Now, I won't say I can guarantee that you will never lose this wind muff, but it's just really very unlikely that you would drop such a wind muff from the transmitter without noticing it. I mentioned before there is a record button on the transmitter, and that's because each of the transmitter has built-in memory and you can record audio directly on the transmitter itself. And this is a very important and useful feature for two reasons. The first reason is it is a wireless microphone system. So no matter how nice, how stable the transmission is, there are always a chance that the audio transmission will get affected by interference, or someone just get in between the transmitter and the receiver and block the transmission, or just for whatever reason you will suddenly have a little bit of audio cutouts, unexpected audio degradations. This kind of thing would just randomly happen sometimes, and it's pretty much impossible to completely avoid that, especially for any compact wireless microphone system because of the limited transmission power and also the small antenna size. So having the option to record audio on the transmitter means it can record the audio directly as a capture, so it wouldn't be affected by the wireless transmission. You could use the audio record on the receiver as a backup, so when you have some bad audio cutout or interference, you can use the backup audio from the transmitter instead. Having this option to provide backup audio is definitely something all content creators would love to have. The built-in memory in the transmitter is 8 GB, which allows you to record 22 hours of audio in 48 kHz 16-bit format, which is a lot. But one thing I want to mention is you can only delete the recorded audio file from the transmitter when you connect the G3 to your computer, and then you can access the file like a USB drive and delete the unwanted audio file from your computer. You cannot do that from the receiver or the transmitter directly. That means before you go out and do some shooting, make sure you clean up the old files on the transmitter memory first, especially if it's getting quite full, or you just have no way to delete those files when you are out there without access to any computer. And speaking of the USB connection, from the setup screen, you can also select how you want to use the G3 when it is connected using a USB cable. You can use it to either access one of the transmitter's recorded audio file, you can make the G3 as a USB microphone for your computer, or you can make it a USB microphone for your smartphone, or just use it for charging. And remember, I mentioned before, at the same time you can still use the analog output port and also the headphone output port. So you can use the G3 with pretty much anything that you can think of that requires a microphone. Okay, this video is getting a little bit long now, but there are still so many features available on the G3 that I haven't talked about yet. For example, you can set high pass filter on the audio from the transmitter, as well as high boost, and also there are different EQ presets that you can apply. So this is fantastic if you don't want to do any editing of the audio captured by the microphone. With the completely redesigned receiver and transmitter and the big display on the receiver, Synco G3's user interface is a huge improvement compared to not just the Synco G2, but also pretty much all the wireless microphone system in the market. I find the audio quality is also very good. It is very clear with relatively low amount of noise. And now you also have the option to directly record on the transmitter. So that gives you a very nice safety backup in case there is interference or audio cutout that affect the wireless transmission. I think it would be great if the screen is actually a touch screen, maybe ability to customize what is displayed on the screen. But overall, there are so many things that I really like about the Synco G3. Even when I compare it to last year's G2, I think Synco really has made some really big improvement in terms of overall design, feature, and also audio quality on this G3. It is no longer just a cute little wireless microphone. It is easily one of the best and most flexible wireless microphone system in the market.